Hey, what's up, everybody? Bud Heaton, On Point Shooting here. Just wrapped up an awesome coaching session just on my drive home, and I had just a few thoughts that I wanted to share with you real quickly. I am driving, so I will not be paying too much attention to what's happening on the video. So bear with me as that's happening, but anyway, I wanted to share a few things in regard to something that I think is very common within the shooting performance world, and sometimes even in our general lives, and that is consistency. We can ask and think about a few, in different varieties of ways, where are we inconsistent? That could be at a character level. For example, one thing I really struggle with is I commit to being at a place, and I'm trying to get all the stuff that I've got going on done or whatever, and I end up getting late or being to that place late. Not always 100% sure why, but I tend to struggle being on time sometimes, and so I tell people I'll be at a place, but I'm 5 minutes late, and so there's incongruency there, inconsistency there. In the shooting world, obviously, we want to be, the whole name of the game is, being able to, in sporting clays at least, hit a pair, stop, repeat, hit a pair again, stop, repeat, hit a pair again, and do that over and over consistently. There are lots of reasons why we get inconsistent, but in my opinion, the number one thing that really stops us from getting and staying consistent is setting ourselves up for success. And what I mean by that is planning to accomplish whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. So in the sporting clays sense of the matter, setting up our shots. So we're setting up our kill points, we're setting up our hole points, we're setting up where we're going to be looking. We're making a plan for how we're going to shoot the target. Are we going to be doing a swing through or a sustain lead or whatever type of move you want to be kind of using for that. There's in the setup, knowing what chokes you want to use, and really just having everything ready to go so that when you step into the cage, you're not worried about anything else. You just have a plan, and it's all about executing on that plan. That is one of the easiest ways to start getting more consistent, and that is doing the same thing over and over and over, even down to the point that your my camera got moved there, sorry. Even to the point that your cadence between shots is consistent and practiced. The more that we can have a process for every shot we take, every pair that we're taking, something that we're doing mentally, physically, etc., it's really going to help provide consistency. The other aspect of consistency that I really want to hit on is, and it goes back to what I kind of started talking about, was with like being on time. Be conscious and intentional about all of the different things that you're doing. It's easy, like I said, to be in the moment, I got to do this and this and this, and I got to make sure that this is done before I go, and there's all these different things, when in reality, an hour and a half ago when you started working on the project, you were maybe goofing off or wasting a little bit of time, and so it's part of that's the execution of using your time. But what I really want to get into here is simply presence. When we're fully present with whatever it is that we're doing, we're much more focused, we're much more concise, we're much more intentional, and again, deliberate. The word, I like to use those words because it's really easy to fall into the habits or the routines of daily life, where we're just kind of going through the motions, and we get into an autopilot. There's times that autopilot's great and it's an asset to have, but when we are always in autopilot mode, we can really see things start to decline in terms of performance and how we're doing things. As a kid, my grandfather lived about a mile away from my parents' house, and so during the summers and even the winters, any given day, I'd get a call from my dad, and he'd say, "Hey, you need to go up to Grandpa's, and he needs some help with XYZ," or whatever it was. Typically, it was mowing the lawn, cutting trees, or trimming bushes, hauling dirt. There's plenty of things. He loved having his garden, and so as a kid, I got told to go and do this. Now the problem was, I was a teenager, so naturally, I didn't want to do any of those things, and it was really, sometimes I got really annoyed with my dad and with just having to go up and do those things, because it's like, oh, I'd rather go hang out with my friends, or I'd rather sleep in, or whatever it was, just being a stupid teenager. But now looking back on it, I really am grateful for those experiences, because my grandpa taught me this, and this is the point that I want to make by telling this story, is that because whenever I was doing the work, he would always say, "Hey, music's good and all, but sometimes you need to unplug." And I never really grasped what he meant by that. And just in the last few years of me really starting to understand sports psychology and the mind and how we think, the more I realized the importance of slowing things down and getting intentional with what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish. And when we take a moment to pull the music out of our ears and just let ourselves think, we're no longer in autopilot, because whenever I was putting the music in, I would go into autopilot and just do the work that I was told I needed to do, instead of allowing myself to think and allowing myself to process things and all that comes with having that silence. And that was a very powerful lesson that my grandpa taught me, that if I hadn't been told to go and do that yard work, I never would have really got. And that's just one of many lessons that I've learned. But how it applies to consistency, I think, is really can be quite insightful, because when we try to be more consistent with things, we have to be more intentional. And by removing anything that gets into autopilot, we're getting more present. We're focused on what we're doing, on the task at hand. What's funny about that is I'm driving and shooting a video, so getting present and being focused on task at hand. I am focused very much on driving and being safe. But to get back to my point here, is that consistency is something that we work towards. Consistency is something that doesn't just happen. We often expect ourselves to just be consistent because we want to be. It's a habit that we have to develop and stick with. And and these are just some of my thoughts that I want to share with you in regard to starting to get more consistent with how you do things. And it starts by getting aware, getting present, and being intentional about the things that you're doing and the things that you're trying to accomplish. And, again, setting yourself up for success, making a plan and sticking to the plan, executing on those plans, and, knowing every aspect of what that plan is really important. And so I leave that with you and let it stew for a little while. Think about some of the things that you can do to be more consistent in terms of your goal setting and how you're planning your days or planning your training day when you're getting out to the range. Planning your trip out to a tournament maybe. Instead of arriving at the club or at your hotel or whatever, and just turn on the TV or whatever, get intentional about making sure that you have everything ready to go. There's no wild cards out there that, I forgot to bring my chokes, or I forgot my shooting glasses, whatever that might be. So get intentional, get focused, get present, make a plan and execute that plan, and you'll start finding a little bit more consistency in everything that you're doing. I leave that with you, and if you have any questions, want to just talk about some of the things I talked about today, or need resources or want some help, email me at coaching@budheaton.com, or go to the contact us page on my website here, and let's talk. I'd love to help you out if I can, or point you to the right resources that you may need.